Very good afternoon. See, I'm starting the session. Listen. So in the previous session, successfully we finished this index topic. So the main goal of index is improving the performance of data retrieval. The index is two types are there, B-tree index and bitmap index. So on high cardinality columns, we create the B-tree index. On low cardinality columns like gender, department number, we create bitmap index. Bitmap index stores the bits, whereas B-tree index stores values and row IDs. Okay. Now, see the next topic. So, simple topic, easy topic. Topic name is sequences. Next database object is sequence. So, topic name is sequences. So, what is sequence? Sequence is a database object like table, view, index. This sequence is also one database object. So why we are using this? It is used to generate sequential integers. It is used to generate sequential integers. So to generate sequential integers, we use the concept sequence. For example, so in the online shopping, you are placing the order. When you are placing the order, then immediately one order ID will be generated. So one unique order ID will be generated. Okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 like this. And you are doing online payments. So when you are paying online payments in the PhonePe or GPay, okay, that is generating one transaction ID, one unique transaction ID it is generating. One transaction ID will be generated. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 9, 0, or 7, 8, 0, or 7, 9, 0, like this. Okay, so to generate sequential numbers like this for transaction IDs, for order IDs, or one shopping mall want to generate customer IDs. Customer IDs. Okay, so like customer ID 1001, 1002, 1003, like this. Or employee numbers or student IDs. So to generate the sequential integers like this automatically, we can use the concept, sequence concept. So it generates sequential integers. It is independent of the table. It is independent of the table. It is not depending on the table. It is independent of the table. So if you see view will be created on the table. If you see the index is created on table column. But whereas the sequence is independent of the table. Okay, view and index are depending on table. Without table, we cannot create the view. Without table, we cannot create the index. Okay, so view we are creating on table, index we are creating on table column. But whereas this sequence is independent, it is independent of the table. It is not depending on the table. So just to generate the sequential integers, we use this sequence concept. So what is the syntax to create the sequence? Syntax to create the sequence. So whenever our requirement is, we want to generate student ID sequentially, like 1001, 1002, 1003. Okay, or employee ID sequentially, 1001, 1002, 1003. Or employee ID sequentially, like 5001, 5002, 5003. So to generate this sequential integers, we have to use which concept? Sequence. That's it. That is the purpose. So to create this sequence, we have to follow this syntax. So to create the table, what we are writing? Create table. To create the view, what we are writing? Create view. Like that, to create the index, create index we are writing. Similarly, to create the sequence, what we have to write? Create sequence, give the sequence name. Here we are giving the sequence name. So after this, so if you write this much, it will create the sequence, no doubt. If you write create sequence name, it creates a sequence. Sometimes we specify where the sequence has to start. Sequence means it generates sequential numbers, okay. It generates sequential numbers like 1001, 1002, 1003. So like this, it generates sequential numbers, okay. From where this number has to be started. To specify that one, we are using start with. Start with, we specify a value. Where sequence has to be started, we specify here. And in that sequence, till which value we want to generate the sequential numbers, that maximum value we specify here. Maximum value. Okay. And increment by value. After generating one number, increment by value, we specify. After generating one number, next, how many values that should increase, that we specify here. For example, I am giving start with value as 100, increment by value as 1. Okay, so where our sequence will be started now? 100. After 100, which number it will generate? 101. 101 will be generated. Okay, for example, I am giving increment by value as 2 here. Now, where our sequence will be started? At 100. After 100, which number will be generated? 102. This is increment by value. Okay, start with means our sequence will be started there. Increment by means how many values that has to increase. So for example, start with value I'm giving as 10. Okay, or start with value I'm giving as 500. Okay, I'm giving increment by value as 10. Now where our sequence will be started? 500. Next, which number will be generated? 510. Next, which number will be generated? 520. So like that, every time 10 values will be incremented here. That is increment by value. Where sequence has to be started, that is start with value. Increment by after one number, how many values you want to increase, that is increment by value. Next, maximum value. Up to which value you want to generate this sequence. Okay, up to 1000 or up to 999. Like this we specify. Up to which number we want to specify. We want to generate the sequential numbers. That is maximum value and minimum value. We specify minimum value of the sequence. And sometimes we specify cycle or no cycle. Default one is no cycle here. And next, sometimes we specify cache size we specify here. Or no cache we specify. So all these are optional here. So that's why I'm specifying them in the square braces. So specifying start with is the class, like group by class, like having class, like order by class. The start with is a class, increment by class, max value class, min value class, cycle, cache. These are the classes which we are using in the sequence creation. In the sequence creation, we use these classes. Like group by, having, order by, those are the classes we use in the select command. The start with, increment by, max value, min value, cycle, cache, these are the classes we use in the sequence. So these are the classes. So specifying start with, increment by, max value, min value, cycle, cache, all these are optional. So that's why we are specifying square braces. All these are optional means when we don't specify those values, by default it takes some value. Which value it takes we discuss. So this is the syntax we have to follow for sequence creation. So where sequence has to be started, how many values we have to increase after generating one value. So till which value we want to generate the sequential numbers, maximum value, then minimum value, then cycle or no cycle, cache or no cache we are specifying. This syntax we have to follow to create the sequence. Now see one example here. See one example. Example on sequence creation. For example, I am writing like this. Create sequence. Sequence name I am giving as S1. Now, You tell me, does it create the sequence now? Does it create the sequence? Yes. Are we specifying any start with value, increment by value, max value, min value? No, we are not specifying all these things. Just create sequence name we are giving. So specifying all these are optional. When we don't specify that value, it takes the default value. So which default value it is taking, we have to learn. So here we are not specifying any. Here I am writing class name in the first column. It's a default value. Class name, it's a default value and specifying as in the second column. Okay, so class name, default value. These we specify here. So start with is one class. What is the default start with value? 1. 1 is the default start with value. So by default, sequence will be started at 1. This is the start with value. Next, increment by value. If we don't specify any increment by value, by default it takes value as 1. So 1 value it takes. So default increment by value 1 here. Okay. Next min value, max value. So what is the default max value here? Default max value is 10 power 28. 10 power 28. 10 power 28. Okay. Or 10 power 28. I'm writing like this. So default maximum value is 10 power 28. Till 10 power 28, we can generate the sequential numbers. Okay. Next, minimum value. What is the minimum value? Minimum value is 1. So minimum value is 1 here. So minimum value is 1. Next. Default cycle value. So default cycle value is no cycle. No cycle is the default value. So no cycle is the default value here. And default cache value. Default cache size is 20. 20 is the default cache size. So here we are creating the sequence. We are not specifying any start with value. So for this sequence, so just a minute. So for this sequence, we are creating one sequence here. Create sequence S1. So for this sequence, are we specifying any start with value? No. What is the default start with value it is taking now? 1 it is taking. So create sequence S1. Okay. What is the default start with value it is taking? 1. What is the default increment by value it is taking? 1. What is the maximum value it is taking? 10 power 28. Okay. And what is the minimum value it is taking? 1. What is the default cycle value it is taking? No cycle. No cycle. And what is the default cache size it is taking? 20. Default cache size is 20. Like this sequence will be created. So with this we can understand that start with value is 1, increment by value is 1, default value, maximum value is 10 power 28, minimum value 1, default cycle value no cycle, default cache value 20. These are the default values. So how can you say, sir? See, how can you say these are the default values? There is, to see the tables information, we are using user tables. So like that, to see the all views information, what we are using? User views. To see all indexes information, what we are using? User indexes. Like that, all sequences information stored in the user sequences. So this user sequences, it maintains all sequences information. All sequences information. Okay. Now, here, for example, we are writing like this. To see all sequences information, just simply select star from user sequences. It gives all sequence information. If you want to see the structure of user sequence, describe user sequences, we can write. So like this we can write. So here we can know the structure. If you want to get only sequence name, you can write sequence name here. But I want to get all columns. So to get all columns, I'm writing star here. So now let me create the one sequence here. So this sequence we are creating. Observe. Maybe by default, this user has no permission for creating the sequence. Let me check. Create sequence S1. Sequence is created. So by default permission is there. So create sequence S1. So our schema name is batch 2 PM. So this batch 2, in the batch 2 PM schema, we are creating one sequence. Sequence name is S1. We didn't specify any start with value, increment by value, min value, max value, etc. So what are the default values it is taking? We want to check here. So for this, we are writing. So describe user sequences. This user sequences maintain all sequences information. So like what is the sequence name? What is that sequence minimum value? What is that sequence maximum value? What is that sequence increment by value? Okay, is it cycle or no cycle? What is its cache size? So like this, it is maintaining the information about the sequences. So we are writing select star from user sequences. Select star from user sequences. Now it displays all sequences information. Till now we created only one sequence. That one sequence information it is displaying. So our sequence name is what? S1. Just now we created it. For S1, we didn't specify any minimum value, maximum value. Observe here. What is the minimum value it is taking? Observe. 1. And observe here, what is the maximum value? 1.0 E plus 28 it is displaying. So this is called scientific notation. What is the meaning of this one? 1.0 means 1. E means what? Into 10 power. E means into 10 power. What is the 10 power value? Power value is plus 28. 10 power 28. So something into 1, we will get something. So 1 into 10 power 28 value is what? 10 power 28. So what is the minimum value of the sequence? 1. What is the maximum value of the sequence? 10 power 28. So here 1.0 E plus 28. This is called scientific notation. So what is the meaning of this one? 1.0 into 10 power. This is power value plus 28. 10 power 28. So something into 1 is something only. So that is 10 power 28. So we get 10 power 28 value here. So minimum value 1, maximum value 10 power 28. So to represent complex float values, okay, here many digits will be there. 10 power 28 means many zeros will be there. 28 zeros will be there. So that's why to represent the complex float values, we use this scientific notation. Okay, this is called scientific notation. So the scientific notation meaning is 1.0 into 10 power 28. Means 10 power 28 is the maximum value. And what is the increment by value here? Observe. 1. This is cycle value. Cycle value n means no cycle. Okay. Cycle value n means no cycle. Cache size. Cache size 20. Default cache size is what? Observe here. 20. And default cycle value is no cycle. Default increment by value 1. Default maximum value. Okay. 10 power 28. Default maximum value 10 power 28. Default minimum value 1. So these are the default values. So how can we know the default values? Means by seeing the information in the user sequences, we can know the information about the sequence. Okay. Now let me create one sequence. Before that, let me talk about 2 pseudo columns here. So sequence provides two pseudo columns to us. Sequence provides two pseudo columns. Sequence provides two pseudo columns. They are, what are those? See here. So sequence provides two pseudo columns. They are, first one is next val. First one is next val and second one is curval. So these are called two pseudo columns provided by the sequence. If anyone is asking, do you know about the pseudo columns means? You can say row num. Already we discussed it. And you know about row ID. In the indexes we have seen row ID. So row num, row ID, these two you know. For every row, there is one row ID and row number. So this row num will be applied on result of select query. And for every row, physical address is there. So that we are calling as the row ID. Employee number, e-name, salary from EMP table. Observe here, sorry, spelling mistake is there. See. So here, what are these 1, 2, 3? These are the row numbers we got by using one pseudo column, row num. Row num is the pseudo column. Like that, this is, see here, row ID, row ID. Okay, so this is the row ID. For every row, one row ID is there. See, last three characters observe AAA, AAB, AAC, AAD. Like this. So these are the row IDs. So row num is one pseudo column. Row ID is one pseudo column. Like that, we have some more pseudo columns are there. Like next val, curval. If anyone is asking, do you know about pseudo columns means? You can say row num, row ID, next val, curval. So why we are using this next val? This next val, so these are called pseudo columns. These are called pseudo columns. So pseudo means, the general meaning of pseudo is false. False column. It looks like column, but it is not column. That is the meaning of this one. So next val means, this next val generates next val returns next value in the sequence. Whereas curval returns current value of the sequence. Current value of the sequence. So in the sequence, what is the current value? If we want to know that one, we can use curval. In the sequence, next value, if we want to get, we are using next val. So next val gives next value in the sequence. Curval gives current value in the sequence. For example, to call this sequence, so syntax to call sequence pseudo column. So to call the syntax sequence pseudo column, to call sequence pseudo column, the syntax is sequence name dot pseudo column name. Sequence name dot pseudo column name. This syntax we have to follow. To call the sequence pseudo column, we use sequence name dot pseudo column. For example, if we want to call, if the sequence name is S1, if you want to call next val pseudo column, we write S1 dot next val. Okay, if you want to get current value in the sequence, S1 dot curval. S1 dot curval, S1 dot next val. Like this, we call the pseudo column of the sequence. S1 dot next val means next value we will get. S1 dot curval means current value we will get. See one example. Our requirement is we want to create one table, customer table. In a customer table, customer ID, customer name we want. So customer ID sequential numbers we want to generate like this. So sequential numbers we want to generate like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this sequential numbers we want to generate. This is our requirement. This customer IDs we don't want to insert. We want to generate by using the sequence. That is our requirement. So this customer IDs we don't want to generate. We want to generate by using the sequence. So to create this table, 2 columns are there, customer ID, customer name. What we have to write? Create table, customer, first field, customer ID, which data type? Number data type. So size I am giving as 4. C name, which data type? Varchar 2 data type, like this we are giving. Now we want to insert. We want to insert these customer IDs. Insert into customer values. So this customer ID we don't want to insert like this. We want to generate it by using the sequence. So first we have to create the sequence now. I am creating the sequence now. Observe. So create sequence. Sequence name I am giving as S2. Okay. So start with where our sequence we want to start here. Where we want to start our sequence 1. After 1 we want to get 2. So how many values we want to increase now? +1. After 2 we want to get 3. How many values we want to increase? 1. So what is the increment by value here? 1. Okay, what is the start with value? 1. What is the minimum value? 1. What is the maximum value? 5. That's it. That we have to tell. So create sequence. Sequence name is S2. Start with 1. Increment by 1. Okay. Min value 1. Max value 1. Sorry, max value 5. Max value 5. So now with this sequence will be created. Okay, sequence created here. Now in this sequence S2, okay, S2's, see, next value we want to get. So to get next value in the sequence, we call next val. Observe here, just now we created one sequence. What is this sequence name? S1. Okay. So what is the default start with value? 1. Default increment by value? 1. Okay. Observe here. For example, I'm writing like this. Select. Sequence name is what? S1. Dot. I want to get current value in the sequence. So if you write like this, it will give error. Because till now sequence is not started. Sequence is not started. How can you get the current value? To get the current value, first a sequence has to be started. So directly you are asking current value. So it is giving error. Sequence is not yet defined in this session. So sequence created, but sequence not generated any number. So that's why you cannot get the current value here. So I want to get the next value now. Observe here S1 dot next val I am calling. S1 dot next val. These two are important here. When you are working with sequence, these two are important. Curval, next val. So next val returns next value in the sequence. Curval returns current value in the sequence. Observe here. S1 dot next val means next value in the sequence will be generated. We will get number 1. Again I am calling. What it is giving? 2. Again I am calling. What it is giving? 3. Are we getting sequential numbers or not? Observe here. That's it. This is about sequence. Now, what is the current value? Observe here. What is the current value? 10 is the current value. So to get the current value, what we have to write here? Select S1 dot curval. S1 dot curval from dual. Okay. So now it is giving current value. What is the current value? Observe here. 10. 10 is the current value. So current value we are getting observed. So this is the way of using pseudo columns, curval and next val. So next val returns the next value in the sequence. Curve val returns current value in the sequence. But what is our requirement here? In the customer table, these customer IDs, we want to generate sequential numbers. In the customer table, in the customer ID, these customer IDs we want to generate sequentially by using the sequence. That is our requirement. So instead of giving the value 1 here, we have to call the sequence. So what is our sequence name? S2. To generate next val, which pseudo column we have to call? Next val. So just we are calling the sequence instead of inserting the value. So when first time next S2 dot next val is called, it generates what? 1. When it calls second time, it generates 2. When it calls third time, it generates 3, like this. So I am using parameter concept to insert the customer details, and ampersand customer name we are inserting here. Observe now. So customer ID we want to generate by using the sequence. So we are calling the sequence here. S2 dot next val. It generates next value in the sequence. We have no need to insert that one. That will be generated automatically. And this one we have to insert. So now if we write like this, what it will ask now? Enter value for C name. Is it asking student ID here? No. Sequence will generate that student ID. Sorry, customer ID. Customer ID will not be asked by this insert command here. Why it is not asking? Because it knows the customer ID here that is generated by next val. So it is asking only customer name. I am giving customer name as A. To repeat above command, what we have to write? Slash. Again it is asking enter value for C name. So now what is S2 dot next val now? 2. First time here S2 dot next val is 1. Okay. So that record will be inserted. Next second time we are inserting. Now 2 will be generated. So second record will be inserted here. Next third time. Okay. Now 3 will be generated. Now 4 will be generated. Now 4 will be generated. Now 5 will be generated. 5 will be generated. Okay. So now if you generate again, it gives error now. Because what is the maximum value here? 5. After generating 5, does it generate 6 here? No. So that's why it gives error here. It gives error as, okay, sequence cannot generate. Okay. So sequence create or sequence reached maximum value, like this some error it gives. Sequence reached max value. Okay. It cannot be instantiated because sequence reached max value. Okay. It cannot be instantiated, error we get. So observe here. Here we are using parameter concept. So implicitly insert query will be rewritten. Implicitly insert query will be rewritten. So what happens here? Just a minute. See, here S2 dot next val means which number will be generated? 1. Okay, next this C name will be replaced with A. So slash means again above query will run. So S2 dot next val means which number will be generated? 2. Ampersand C name value takes as B. Okay, next insert into customer values. Next S2 dot next val means 3. C. S2 dot next val 4. Okay, S2 dot next val 5. Okay, so like this, it rewrites the insert query every time here because we are using parameter concept. This parameter value will be substituted at the place of parameter. Okay, after generating 5, again S2 dot next val we are calling. So can it generate 6 here? No, because sequence maximum value we have given as 5. Okay, now observe here. I am creating one table customer here. Observe. If any table is there with the name customer, I'm dropping that one. I'm creating one new customer table. So new customer table we are creating with 2 columns. Okay, so table is created. So this table name is customer. In these 2 columns are there customer ID and customer name. Now we want to insert customer IDs using the sequence concept. So we are creating one sequence here. So create sequence. Sequence name is S2. Start with value. We are giving as 1. Even if you don't give, that takes 1 only. For clarity, I'm giving. Next min value. Min value is 1. Okay. Max value is 5. Increment by value 1. And remember one point, we have no need to follow the order here. Start with, you can write first or you can write last. Increment by, you can write first, you can write last. Max value, you can write first, min value next. Okay, no need to follow the order here. Sequence will be created. This increment by value, you can write in the end, in the beginning, in the middle, no problem. Okay, the start with value, you can write in the beginning, in the middle, or in the end, no problem. So no need to follow the order, just we have to use those clauses. Start with min value, max value, increment by. No need to follow the order here. In any order you can write. So sequence created. Now we want to insert the records into customer table. Observe here what we are writing, insert into. Table name is customer values. We want to generate customer ID by using the sequence. What is the sequence name? S2. To generate the next value, which pseudo column we have to use? Next val. S2 dot next val. Okay, ampersand C name. Bracket close. Semicolon. So S2 dot next val means sequence generates the next value here. This C name we have to enter. Parameter. Okay, so what it is asking, observe here. Enter value for C name. So here next val generates one number. Observe here. So this insert query replaced it like this. S2 dot next val means one generated here. A replaced at the place of C name. One row created. One more row we want to insert. So to repeat above command slash. Okay, I'm giving B. Now 2 generated. I'm giving C 3 generated. I'm giving D 4 generated. I'm giving E 5 generated. Okay, I'm giving F. It gives error. It's because maximum value is 5. It is giving error. Observe here. Sequence S2 dot next val. S2 dot next val exceeds maximum value. S2 dot next val exceeds maximum value. If it is generating the maximum value, that exceeds the maximum value. If it is generating the next value, that will be exceeded by the maximum value it is selling. So it cannot be instantiated, means it cannot be created. So open and see the sequence here. Select star from customer. Observe here. These customer IDs we didn't insert manually. By using the sequence, we inserted these values. Okay. So now, if you want to continue the customer IDs, if you want to generate some more customer IDs, maximum value is 5. I want to expand it now. So to make the changes in the sequence, we have to use alter command. Using alter command, you can change here. Alter. So to change the structure of table, we are writing what? Alter table. Like that, we want to change the sequence values here. So alter sequence. Alter sequence. Max value. Alter sequence name. In which sequence? S2 sequence. So max value, I'm giving as 10 here. So now sequence will be altered. What it is telling? Sequence altered. So sequence altered here. Now I'm writing this query again. So one more time I'm writing this query. So again it generates the sequential numbers. So observe here, F I am giving. So 6 generated now. Okay, one more time I'm running. Okay, so 7 generated. Now 7 generated. Okay, next 8 generated. Okay, next 9 generated. Okay, so next 10 generated now. Okay, so one more value I'm inserting. Now till 10 it is generated. Now it gives the error. Okay, so S2 dot next val exits maximum value. So now observe the table here. Select star from customer. In the customer 10 values are there. Observe these 10 values we generated by using the sequence. So if we want to expand the sequence like maximum value, increment by value, if you want to make any changes in the existing sequence, we use which command? Alter. Using alter, we can make changes in the existing sequence. So that's it. This is the way of using sequence. Now, see one example here. One more example. I want to create one table here. This table name is course. Table name is course. The course ID we want to generate. And course name we want to generate. Course ID 10. Okay, this is for Java. Course ID 20. 20 is for Oracle. Course ID 30. 30 is for Python. Okay, course ID 40. 40 is for C language. And course ID 50. 50 is for HTML. So like this, I want to create one table now. And in these course IDs, I want to generate by using the sequence. So these course IDs I want to generate by using the sequence now. This is my requirement. Okay, now what is the start with value here? 10. Okay, after 10 we want to get 20. So how many values we have to increase? 10. After 20, 30. How many values we have to increase? 10. So increment by value is 10 here. Start with value 10. Increment by value 10. What is the minimum value? 10. What is the maximum value? 50. Like this we have to create the sequence. So now I'm creating this sequence. Observe. So create sequence. Sequence name is S3. Okay, what is start with value? 10. What is increment by value now? 10. After 10, we want to get 20, 30 like this. What is min value? 10. What is the max value? 50. Like this, we can create the sequence. So now with this sequence will be created. After that, we are creating one table, course table. So create table. So course 1, 2, 3 I'm giving. Course 1, 2, 3. Course ID. Course ID. Number data type. Course name. Or otherwise I'm giving precision as 2 here. Course name varchar 2. So to insert this data, what we have to write here? Insert into, what is the table name? Course 1, 2, 3. Values. Call the sequence. How to call the sequence? Sequence name S3. To generate the next value, what we have to write here? S3 dot next val. S3 dot next val. Okay, and we want to read course name. So ampersand C name. Now what it will ask now? Enter value for course name. Enter value for course name. I am giving Java here. So one more time I am running. So next again it is asking enter value for course name. Enter value for course name. Give the course name here. I am giving course name as Oracle like this. Like this, you can generate the sequential numbers. So observe here. This sequence we are creating now. S3 sequence we are creating. So create sequence. Sequence name is S3. Start with value 10. Increment by value 10. Min value 10. Min value 10. Max value 50. So what it is telling? Sequence created. Now create this course table now. create this codes table. Create codes table. Just a minute. Some mistakes are there. So course 1, 2, 3 table we are creating. So table is created. In this table, we want to insert the records. So insert into table name is course 1, 2, 3 values. So we want to generate course ID by using the sequence. Sequence name is what? Sequence name is S3. Next value we want to generate. So write S3 dot next val, comma, ampersand C name or course name. Okay. So observe here what it is asking. Only course name it is asking. Course ID it is not asking because we are calling next val. So course name I am giving as Java here. So 10 generated. Okay. Next course name I am giving as Oracle. Okay. 20 will be generated. Okay. Next Python I am giving 30 will be generated. Okay. Next C I am giving 40 will be generated. Okay. Next C# I am giving. Okay. 50 will be generated. Okay. Next HTML I am giving. So now is it generate the number now? No. It reached the maximum value. So it gives error. So S3 dot next val exceeds maximum value to select. So now open and see the table. Select star from table name is course 1, 2, 3. Observe the data here. See 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So these sequential numbers we generated using the concept sequence. This is the way of using sequence. Is it clear about sequence? So now you know very clearly about what is start with, increment by, max value, min value. 4 clauses we know. And how to use next val, cur val we know. To get current value in the sequence. So today we are using this sequence. Tomorrow what is the current value in the sequence we want to know. So at that time S1 dot curval, S1 dot curval from dual. What is the current value it gives? So current value is 10 in the S1. In the S2, current value is 10. And in the S3, current value is 50. So like this, we are getting the current value here. To get the current value, curval pseudo column we are using. To get the next value in the sequence, next val we are using. Next val we are using. Okay. So now we have to know about what is this cycle and what is this cache. These things if we know clearly about the sequence. So now you know start with value. What is the starting value in the sequence we are specifying? So after one value, how many values you want to increase? That is increment by value, step value. Next, in the sequence, what is the maximum value? Up to which value you want to generate the sequential numbers? That maximum value we are specifying. And what is the minimum value in the sequence we are specifying? Then what about this cycle and cache? This we have to know now. So what is this cycle and what is cache? These things we are learning now. Observe. So cycle or no cycle. We are discussing about cycle or no cycle. So in the cycle, no cycle, which one is the default one? Default one is no cycle. So default is no cycle. No cycle is default one. So no cycle is default one. Okay. So see here. See about no cycle. If sequence is created using no cycle, what happens? See. So sequence starts with value. Sequence starts from start with value. Okay. generates next value up to, generates next value up to maximum value, generates next value up to maximum value. Okay, then it stops generating the sequential numbers. Okay, so then sequence will be stopped. Then sequence will be stopped. It cannot generate the next sequence number here because it is no cycle. Just now we have seen no cycle. Default one is no cycle only. So we created one sequence, minimum value we have given 1, maximum value we have given 5. After generating 5, what it is telling? It is giving error. So S2 dot next val exceeds max value. It cannot be instantiated. Like this error it is giving. Just now we have seen this example. Observe. For course ID sequence, for generating course IDs, we created one sequence. What is the maximum value here? 50. So here we are not specifying cycle or no cycle. Okay, means default one is what here? No cycle. So cycle is not there. So if cycle is not there, after reaching the maximum value here, after generating 50 here, after reaching the maximum value, sequence will be stopped. It cannot generate the next value here. After reaching maximum value, sequence will be stopped. It cannot generate the next value. So that is no cycle meaning. For example, we are creating like this. Observe. Create sequence. Sequence name I am giving as S4. So sequence name is S4. Start with value I am giving as 300. Increment by value 1 I am giving. Increment by value 1 I am giving. Min value 100 I am giving. Max value 500 I am giving. Okay, then cycle or no cycle, in that place I am writing no cycle. Okay, so now if you write like this, sequence will be created. Now, if you call next val, first which number it generates? First which number it generates? 300. Because start with value is 300 here. So this 300 is the start with value. This is start with value. So sequence will be started at start with value. Okay. After that, when we call next val, it generates 301, 302, 303, 304, like this up to which value it can generate? Up to 500. This 500 is the maximum value. And what is the minimum value in the sequence here? Minimum value in the sequence is 100. 100 is the minimum value. So in this sequence, start with value is 300. So sequence will be started at start with value. It generates next value up to the maximum value. After reaching maximum value, sequence will be stopped. So here next number will not be created. Next number will not be generated. It stops the sequence after reaching maximum value. This is no cycle. So sequence will be started at start with value. Here at 300 it is starting. So 301, 302, 303 up to maximum value it is generating. After reaching maximum value, sequence will be stopped. It cannot generate the next value here. Whereas the same sequence we are creating by using cycle. So the same sequence we are creating by using cycle. If sequence is created using cycle, okay, so sequence starts with start with value. So sequence starts from start with value, generates next value up to, maximum value. So it sequence generates next value up to maximum value. After reaching maximum value, so after reaching maximum value, it reset to min value. So again, from minimum value to maximum value, again it generates the sequential numbers. So that's it. That is the meaning of cycle. Cycle means numbers will be repeated. After reaching maximum value, again that will be reset to the minimum value. Again it generates from minimum value to the maximum value. Again after reaching maximum value, again it will be reset to the minimum value. Again minimum to maximum it will reset. According to this example, here we are creating this by using the cycle here. So now what is the start with value here? 300. So now sequence will be started at 300. So this is 300 is the start with value. So now sequence will be started from here. So now from start with value till where it can generate 301, 302, 303 like that up to maximum value. So what is the maximum value here? 500. So 500 is the maximum value. After reaching maximum value, again it will reset to the minimum value. What is the minimum value here? 100 is the minimum value. So 100 is the minimum value here. After reaching maximum value, after generating 500, it generates next number as the 100. Okay. So now again 101, 102, 103 like this up to where it will generate now? Up to 500. After reaching 500, again it will reset to the minimum value 100. So from 100 to 500 sequentially numbers will be generated. So because of it is repeating, we are calling this as the cycle. That's it. So if you want to check it, you can check it. I am writing like this. So for our understanding purpose, I'm taking less values here. So start with value I'm giving as 3. Increment by value 1. Minimum value I'm giving as 10. Okay. Start with value 5 I'm giving. Increment by value 1. Okay. Minimum value 1 I am giving, maximum value 10 I am giving. Minimum value 1, maximum value 10. Okay, cycle. With cycle I am creating now. So, listen carefully here. Here I want to tell one more point. Listen. When we want to create with cycle, what is the default cache size? 20. Okay. For example, I am creating S4 sequence like this. I am creating S4 sequence here. Observe S4 sequence I am creating. In the S4 sequence, just observe what is the start with value? 300. Increment by value 1. Minimum value 100, maximum value 500. Cycle we are specifying. Is it create the sequence here? Yes, it creates the sequence. What is the default cache value? 20. So sequence is created. But the same thing I am writing like this. If you write like this here, does it create the sequence here? No, it gives error. So why it gives error, sir? What is the default cache size? Default cache size is 20. Always cache size must be less than 1 cycle. Cache size must be less than 1 cycle. Remember this. Default cache size is what? Default cache size. Default cache size 20 here. And here, what is the cycle size here? What is the cycle size? Observe. So cycle size is 10 here. Observe. What is the minimum value? 1. Okay. What is the maximum value? 10. What is the start with value? 5. So sequence starts from 5. 5 to 10 it generates. After 10 it will reset to the 1. So this 1 to 10 is called 1 cycle. What is 1 cycle value here? 10. One cycle value is 10 here. Cache size is what? 20. Always cache size must be less than one cycle. That is a rule. Okay, here cache size is 10 here, and cache size is 20 here, cycle size is 10 here. So cache size is greater than, if cache size is greater, okay, or equal, it gives error. Okay, even you cannot give equal also. So if cache size is greater than or equals to cycle size, it gives error. Means why it is giving error here? Because cache size must be less than one cycle. Okay. So here cache size is more than one cycle. So that's why it is giving error. So observe here, is it creating the sequence or not? See here. If we write S5, is it creating the sequence? Observe. Sorry. So is it creating the S5 sequence here? No. Here we are creating sequence S5. So previously when we created S4, it created. In the same way, just we changed the values here for S5. But is it creating S5 here? No. Why it is not creating? Because cache must be less than one cycle. So very clearly Oracle is telling cache size must be less than one cycle. According to this example, here what is the cycle size here? 10. What is the cache size here? 20. Is cache size less than cycle here? No. This is the problem. So if you want to create this with the cycle, okay, we must specify the cache size also. So I'm specifying cache size here. Can I give cache size as 10? No. What is the rule here? Must be less than one cycle. Okay, 10 means is it, now here if you give cache size as 10, now cache size is 10, cycle size is also 10. Both are equal, cache size is not less. You cannot give equal also. It gives error. Observe now. It gives error. See. So again same error it is giving. Even if you are giving cache size 10, cycle size is also 10 here. So cache must be less than one cycle. Can we give 9 here? Yes. 9 means now sequence will be created. So now cache size is 9. Cycle size is 10. Cache size is less than cycle size. So you can create the sequence here. See here, sequence created. Cache size 10 if we give, is it creating? No. Cache size 9, it is creating. Okay. Now in this sequence, what is the start with value? Observe here. What is the start with value? 5. Okay. After 5, next it generate 6, 7, 8, 9 up to what is the maximum value? 10. After reaching maximum value 10, okay, it will be reset to the minimum value 1. So again from 1 to 10 it generates. 1 to 10 it generates like this. So continuously it generates. Observe here, is it correct or not? Check here. Okay. See here. See. See. Select, what is the sequence name here? What is the sequence name? S5. What is the start with value? 5. What is the maximum value? 10. Okay. Is it cycle or no cycle? Cycle. Cycle means it repeats. What is the minimum value? Observe here. 1. Okay. So now observe here. S5 dot next val from dual. What it gives now? 5 it gives. What is the start with value here? 5. So what it gives now? 5 it gives. 5 it is given. Again we are calling next val. What it gives now? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It reached maximum value now. If that is no cycle, till here that sequence should be stopped. But it is cycle. Cycle means after reaching maximum value, it will be reset to the minimum value. Now next value means minimum value it gives. What is the minimum value here? 1. Minimum value is 1. So is it giving 1 or not? Observe here. So now what it gives? 1. So after reaching maximum value, it is giving minimum value. Again, till where it can generate? Till maximum value again. So till 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reached maximum value. After reaching maximum value, again it reset to the minimum. Okay, again 1 to 10, again it generates. 1, see, after reaching maximum value, it reset to the 1. Again from 1 to 10 it generates. Okay, so this is the meaning of cycle. Again it generates till 10. Again 1 to 10. So if you want the numbers repeatedly, we use cycle. If we want to maintain unique numbers, we will not use cycle. Okay, so this is about cycle. So once again I'm repeating, very simple. Here, this sequence created by using cycle or no cycle? No cycle. No cycle means where sequence will be started at start with value 300. Okay, till where it generates the next value? Till maximum value 500. After reaching maximum value, what is happening? It is stopping generating the sequential numbers. It will not generate next number. Okay, whereas the same thing in case of cycle, what is happening? Sequence start with value 300. It is generating next value up to the maximum value. After reaching maximum value, it is resetting to the minimum value. So again from the minimum value till maximum value, again it is generating. After reaching maximum value, again it will reset to the minimum value. So from 100 to 500, it generates sequential numbers. Okay, so this is about cycle, no cycle. Is it clear? Next one is last one. Last one is cache. So what is this cache here? So cache, we are specifying the size here. So default cache size is, so cache size or no cache. This one we are discussing now. So cache size or no cache. Okay, just a minute. So, okay. So what is the default cache size? Default cache size is 10. Default cache size, default cache size is not 10, 20. Default cache size is 20. So default cache size is 20 here. So what is this cache? Why they added this cache? This cache improves the performance. So to improve the performance, we use this cache. For example, listen. In computer, when we enter the data, where this data will go? When we enter the data, where this data will go? This data goes to the RAM. So here we are entering data through the keyboard. Now this data will be stored into the RAM. Okay. So when we enter the data like this data goes to the RAM, and as well as the same data will be also stored in another memory. That memory is called cache. In the computer, cache memory is there. So the same data will be also stored in the cache. Now from second time onwards, if I am working with the same data, I want to copy this data, or I want to move this data to another page, or I want to copy this data to another page. From second time onwards, if I work with the same data, it collects the data from cache. Listen, in the computer, there are two memories out there, two temporary memories out there. One is RAM, another one is cache. When we enter data like this, where this data will go? To the RAM. Okay. So if anyone want to ask the doubt, online students, please type in the middle. After completion of my explanation, if you have any doubts, you can ask. Okay. See, here I am typing the data. This data goes to the RAM, as well as the same data will be stored in the cache also. So when we enter the data goes to the RAM as well as cache. From second time onwards, if you want to work with the same data, from where microprocessor will collect now? From cache memory. So why it is collecting from cache? Because cache memory is faster than RAM. RAM is slower. To improve the performance, they added cache memory. If cache memory is not there, every time microprocessor has to wait for the RAM. RAM is slower. Microprocessor is very faster. RAM is slower. If cache memory is not there, microprocessor has to wait for RAM every time. So that's why to improve the performance, what they did is cache memory they added. So this cache memory is faster than RAM. RAM is slower one. So when we enter the data goes to RAM as well as cache. From second time onwards, we are working with same data. If we are working with same data, it collects from cache. This cache is faster one than RAM. Just to improve the performance, these computer manufacturers included this cache memory. In the same way, just like here, cache is improving the performance in our computer. In our computer, cache is improving the performance. In the same way, here also, this cache improves the performance. So to improve the performance of generating sequential integers, we use cache. So to improve the performance of generating sequential integers, we use cache. If we use cache, it generates faster. Why? Because, see here, if we are creating the sequence by using no cache. For example, here we are creating one sequence. Create sequence. Sequence name is S6. Okay, so start with value. I am giving as 300. Start with value 300. Increment by value 1. Okay, max value 500. Okay, min value 100 I am giving. Okay, and I am giving no cycle here. Even if you give no cycle or not, it is no cycle only. And the cache default size is 20 here. Even if you give 20 or not, default. So I am creating this as no cache. So no cache means what happens here? Listen. So whenever sequence is called, this sequence is stored in the Oracle database. This is the Oracle database. In the Oracle database, our sequence is stored. For example, our sequence name is S6. Our sequence S6 stored in the Oracle database. So when we call like this, S6.nextVal, what happens here? It goes to the sequence. In the sequence, what is the current value now? Okay, sequence is not generated yet. What is the starting value? 300. Okay, so 300 will be created first. To this value, it adds increment by value. To this value, it adds increment by value. So 301 will be generated. That 301, it is returning to here. So first time it is returning 300. Next time it is returning 301. Again I am calling S6.nextVal. It identifies the current value. To the current value, it adds increment by value. So 302 will be generated. 302 it returns. So every time what is happening here? So when we call the sequence, please don't talk. when we call the sequence, I have no need to explain this much clearly. After explaining these classes, I can tell topic is over. Why I am explaining? Why you are talking there? See, if sequence is created by using no cache, when we call the sequence, it identifies the current value. To the current value, it adds increment by value. That number will be returned to this sequence call. Now 302 return. So now 302 is the current value in the sequence. When we call the sequence again it goes to the Oracle database, identifies the current value. Now current value is 302, adds increment by value. That value will be returned here, 303. So for every sequence call, it is going to the Oracle database. If number of travels to the database is increased, automatically performance will be degraded. That is a problem. So when we call the sequence, if sequence is created with no cycle, with no cache, if sequence is created with no cache, if sequence is created with no cache, when we call the sequence, what happens? It goes to the database. So request will go to the database, goes to database. So Oracle identifies, it goes to database. Okay, identifies current value, adds increment by value, and returns the sequence number, So every time it happens. If you call for 100 times, it goes to the database. Okay, identifies the current value, adds increment by value, returns the sequence number. So 100 times this thing will be happened. If number of travels to the database increased, automatically performance will be degraded. So to improve the performance, what we are using is cache we are using. So for example, we are creating like this. So every time it is going to the Oracle database and identifying the current value, adding increment by value, returning to the sequence call. So automatically performance will be degraded. So if here, every time it goes to database, okay, if number of travels to database is increased, automatically performance will be degraded. This is the problem here. To improve the performance, we use cache. We use cache memory. That's it. So here, every time it goes to the database, identifies the current value, adds increment by value, returns the value. So number of travels to the database is increased here. So automatically performance will be degraded. To improve the performance, we use cache. So if we create by using cache, if sequence is created using cache, okay, so sequence values will be preloaded. Sequence values will be preloaded into cache memory. So sequence values will be preloaded into cache memory. So every time it will not go to the database. So when we call the sequence, okay, it goes to cache and returns next value in the sequence. So every time it is not going to the database here from the cache. In the cache, pre-calculated values are there, preloaded values are there. From there, it takes the value. So every time it is not going to the database. So first time it is going to the database. So based on the cache size, it is preloading the values. If cache size is 100 here, for example, we are creating one sequence like this. Create sequence. So sequence name is SE8. Start with value. I am giving as 301. Okay, max value. I am giving as 500. Increment by value. 1. Min value 100 I am giving. So cycle, no cycle I am giving. Cache 100 I am giving. So if we create like this, what happens here? See, observe. In the Oracle database, sequence is stored. The Oracle server, in the Oracle database, sequence is stored. Sequence name is SE8. So in this start with value is 301. Okay. So when we call the sequence here, like this, SE8.nextVal. So first time what happens here is in the cache memory. So this is the cache memory. In the cache memory, it stores 100 values here. From where to where? From 301 to 400. 100 values will be preloaded here. From next time onwards, when we call the sequence, it goes to cache and takes 302 value. Already pre-calculated 100 values are there. Next it goes to the cache and takes another value, 303, 304. Like this up to where it is taking? 400 it is taking. After reaching 400, again 100 values will be reloaded here. Again 100 values will be preloaded into the cache memory. Next 100 values are 401 to 500. Like this, every time 100 values will be loaded into the cache. So with this, is it going every time to the database here? No. Just it is going to the cache and it is taking the next value in the sequence. So first time it is generating 100 sequential numbers. From that is capturing next value like this. So number of travels to the database are reduced here. Automatically performance will be improved. So every time it is not calculating, first time it is calculating and that is loading the values based on the cache size. If you give cache size 100 here, 100 values will be loaded. If you give cache size as 20 here, 20 values will be loaded. So based on this cache size, those many values will be preloaded into the cache. When we call the sequence, it collects the next sequential number from the cache, not from the database. So here. So if sequence is created using cache, sequence values will be preloaded into the cache memory. When we call the sequence, it goes to the cache and returns next value in the sequence. So every time it will not go to the database. So automatically every time it will not go to database. So performance will be improved. Performance will be improved here. That's it. So this is the concept of cache. So finally the conclusion is cache improves the performance. If anyone is asking why means if cache is not there, every time it has to go to the database, identify the current value, adds increment by value, returns that value. So every time it happens. So it takes a lot of time. Whereas if you use cache here, so already pre-calculated values will be stored into the cache. So for every sequence call, it goes to the cache and collects the number. So number of travels to the database will be reduced. So automatically performance will be improved. Is this point clear? That's it. So now you know very clearly about the sequence. All classes you don't know. See here. Create sequence name. Start with class is used to specify the starting value. Increment by is used to specify the increment by value. Okay, how many values you want to increase? 2 values or 10 values based on our requirement. 1 value we are specifying. Okay, up to which value we want to generate the sequential numbers. Maximum value we are specifying. So minimum value we are specifying here. So cycle means after reaching maximum value, it will be reset to the minimum value. No cycle means after reaching maximum value, it will be stopped. So cache, no cache means every time it goes to the database and generates the sequential number. If cache size is stored, if we specify the cache size, so values will be preloaded into the cache. For every sequence call, it collects the number from cache. Cache improves the performance. So, is it clear about all these clauses? Okay, I'm stopping the session here. So, remaining 3-4 important points are there regarding interview. 3-4 questions are there that I cover in the next session. So, tomorrow we finish this sequence concept. In the first 15 minutes, we finish this sequence concept. After that, we discuss another topic, materialized view. Okay, thank you everyone. See you tomorrow.